Hello all. So today we are going to start the Hadoop administration demo session. Let's begin. In that we'll cover these all topics. Under that, what is big data and big data problems and how Hadoop solves the big data problem. Then we'll see what is Hadoop and why Hadoop is so important, and how this course Hadoop administration is useful in present and future world. What are the job market of Hadoop? Which companies are using Hadoop? And one real-time example is New York Times used Hadoop to process their archives data. That will discuss in this session. And Hadoop administrator required in multiple domains. How they are required, why they need in several domains. That will discuss in this session. And what are the Hadoop admin responsibilities, and what are the prerequisites to learn Hadoop administration course. And the last topic will be we'll cover two real-time case studies, or you can say the project which are based on Hadoop, which will be uh, included under that three component of Hadoop. By using 2 to 3, we'll process some data which companies are currently doing in real time. We'll give the example of two case studies in practical sessions. So let's begin the session. What is big data? So according to Oracle, anything above 1 terabyte is a big data, because we cannot process that data with the traditional database system. So what are the traditional database system? As you know, the Oracle, RDBMS, SQL, MS SQL, these are the relational database system. They have the limitations of these all databases. If you want to process any data, that should be under 1 terabyte. If the data is more than 1 terabyte, we can't process the data which is more than terabyte. So it becomes a limitation for the traditional database system. And big data is nothing but large amount of data. As we have seen, like Oracle is saying, above 1 terabyte is big data. It means big data is available in the market, but we don't have any solution with the traditional databases. So that's why we require the big data to process Hadoop. Then we see what are the big data problems. Here, volume, variety, veracity, velocity. These are 4 V's of big data that we'll cover in the next slide. Let's see what are the problems of big data. So just the size of big data makes it impossible to store it in traditional storage like databases. As I mentioned, RDBMS, Oracle, MySQL. And also big data is unstructured or semi-structured. Unstructured means we have images, we have audios, videos, GIFs, multiple types of audio, multiple types of video, which are generating continuously online with the help of social media and corporate sector words. These all things. So those are the unstructured data. And some JSON data we are getting with the help of some social media, that is called semi-structured data. And there is no point to store this amount and big data if we can't process it. As I mentioned in the first point, traditional database system is not able to process this data. If we can store this data and if we are not able to process, then there is no meaning. Let's come to the next slide. How Hadoop solves big data problem. Then we will see in detail what are the big data problems. So first one is volume. Every 60 seconds, 98,000 plus tweets are coming. 6,95,000 of status updates on Facebook every 60 seconds. 11 million instant messaging, Google search, email sent every day. 168 million plus sent in every 60 seconds. And 1,820 terabytes of data created by multiple sources. 217 new mobile web users, are increasing every seconds. It means that our volume is continuously increasing, and these all data needs to be stored somewhere. So it was about volume. Let's see second thing, variety. Variety means types of data. As image format, it may be videos, it may be audios. So these are types, and sometimes we get from corporate data that may be some CSV file, Excel file, doc file, PPTs, and as here I mentioned in the diagram, variety, API, bank, payment agent, mobile banking, online banking, and ATM. So these are the devices which are connected to cloud or connected to some databases which are generating data according to their mechanism. Like we can say some machines are generating data with its type. The ATM's data, we don't know what are the type, but it is storing somewhere. And it's generating day by day. It's increasing. So these are the variety, means types of data, different types of data. The next thing is velocity. Velocity is nothing but speed of data processing. As we see in the volume and variety, data is continuously coming in big amount and different variety, and that data needs to be processed as per need and speed of data. That data needs to be processed with good speed, but we are able to just store. In some point we can say we are able to store, but we are not able to process with traditional databases. So these three things are the problems of big data, and Hadoop is the solution. Hadoop is come into market to answer the question how to process big data with reasonable cost and time. The meaning of reasonable cost is that the Hadoop works on commodity hardware. Means the hardwares which are required to implement Hadoop are very cheap. You can deploy Hadoop cluster with cheap hardware devices. Will not require like supercomputer or hi-fi devices for Hadoop. Okay. So what is Hadoop? Hadoop is a free Java-based programming framework that supports the processing of large data sets in a distributed computing environment. Hadoop make it possible to run application on system with thousands of nodes involving thousands of terabytes. As in first point I mentioned, Hadoop is free. It means it's open source. Anybody can work it, anybody can implement it. It's not a proprietary product. It's a free product. And it's based on framework that support big data processing of large data sets. As we have a problem to process a big data, and that problem solves by Hadoop because its main goal is to process a big data and in a distributed computing environment. And what is distributed computing environment? We'll discuss in next third or fourth point. Hadoop make it possible to run application system thousands. Thousands of node means we are distributing the computing powers on thousands of nodes involving thousands of terabytes. If we are distributing the power of computing, also we are distributing the storage on multiple places. So here we lose chance of failure devices, failure storage, these all things. In distributed file system facilitates rapid data transfer rate among nodes and allows the system to continue operating uninterrupted in case of a node failure. What it means uninterrupted in case of a node failure? It means that we have 15 node of Hadoop cluster and we are running some job, and suddenly one of the node gets down. So it will not affect on that particular job which was running on Hadoop. It will directly transfer the load and transfer whatever the part of that job was running on particular node, that will automatically get transferred to another node. That's the beauty of Hadoop. The last point is this approach lowers the risk of catastrophic system failure. What it means, catastrophic system failure? It means sudden system failure, even if a significant number of nodes become inoperative. That's I mentioned in the last second point. The same thing. Next come to this. So the goal is main thing about Hadoop, Hadoop is free, and Hadoop is based on a framework which is used to process a large data in distributed computing manner. So these are the beauties, and we can run thousands of nodes simultaneously. We can store thousands of terabytes. As in big data, as in a traditional database system, we can't process terabytes. Under Hadoop, we can process terabytes of data. So why is Hadoop important? So first one is low cost, the second is scalability, flexibility, then computing power, fault tolerance, and storage and processing speeds. Storage and processing speed, as I mentioned in the previous slide, we can store thousands of terabytes, and we can process thousands of nodes simultaneously at a time. So that's the beauty. We'll discuss each and every point one by one. Will be low cost, will be second. So low cost, the open source framework is free. First of all, it's open source, that's why it's free. And use commodity hardware. What it means, commodity hardware? Commodity hardware means a hardware which are easily available in the market. We can use normal hardwares like 16 GB of RAM, 1 terabyte of hard disk. With the help of like 5 machines, we can make a Hadoop cluster. It means it is not required a supercomputer or hi-fi devices. As I mentioned, that thing I already mentioned in the previous slide also. So hardware to store large quantities of data. That's a low cost. It is easy available. Scalability. You can easily grow your system to handle more data simply by adding nodes. That will require little administration. What it means actually, suppose you have 10 node of cluster, and your requirement was about 10 terabytes to store, but suddenly your requirement gets increased and you need 5 terabyte more, and your cluster is 10. You already created a cluster of Hadoop with 10 terabyte, and you will require more than, means you will require 15 terabyte to store. So at that moment you can add some data nodes, 5 data nodes or 1 data node with 5 terabyte, and you can increase and scale your cluster. That's a feature of Hadoop. Flexibility. Unlike traditional database systems, you don't have to pre-process data before storing it. In traditional, you have to pre-process data before storing, but in Hadoop you can store as much data as you want and decide how to use it later. That include unstructured data like text, image, and video. It means that you can decide how your text, how your images and videos will be used in future. That you can decide. That's a flexibility. There is no limitation. And computing powers. Hadoop's distributed computing model processes big data fast. How it processes big data fast? That's why, because we distributed a computing power on different nodes. So it can process big data. Also, it can process big data smoothly and seamlessly, we can say. The more computing nodes you use, the more processing power you have. That's the thing, computing power. And the last point is fault tolerance. Data and application processing are protected against hardware failure. Fault tolerance is the feature, and it's a concern, it's the point which they consider before deploying Hadoop. Because in every system, suppose we have RDBMS cluster, Oracle cluster, if something goes down in database, 5 nodes, so all system may get down because of that particular node, because they created dependencies on every nodes. But in Hadoop, that was first consideration. Data and application processing are protected against hardware failure. If a node goes down, jobs are automatically redirected to other nodes to make sure the distributed computing does not fail. Multiple copies of all data are stored automatically. There is a concept called replication in Hadoop. If you store any data, suppose abc.txt file in Hadoop, that will get replicated into 3 places automatically. That's called Hadoop replication. So if your one copy gets deleted or gets down the node where your first copy is present, so Hadoop will automatically replicate that copy to some other node from your remaining 2 copies of that data. The next slide is how the course is useful in present and future world. So the scope and the future of course is depend on the businesses which are available in the market. So if the businesses will be available in market and they have dependency on Hadoop, means Hadoop always have scopes. Let's see what are the businesses. So big data processing. Big data processing, which is future need as data is growing in terms of amount and type, which I already mentioned in big data. Big data V's like volume and variety. Continuously data is increasing in volumes and multiple varieties. So big data processing is one of the business in the market. And second one is storage. Every data gets stored somewhere, like your FB photo, videos, audio, corporate data, everything, government data, everything needs to be stored somewhere. If we are storing something, then we need that data in future to analyze something. So that's a third option, third business in the market, that is data analytics. Data analytics is the science of examining raw data with the purpose of drawing conclusion about that information. Suppose we have data of some corporate world, thousand and lakh millions of data, and we want to know how many employees and everything, something we want to take from that data, we can process. That's called, we can take the past data of 10 or 15 years of data, and we can process and we can conclude the result. With the help of, we can improve our next business. That's the data analytics. Data analytics is used in many industries to allow companies and organizations to make better business decisions. That's what I am saying. If we have previous 10 or 15 years data live, and we are anytime able to process that data, it means we can make a good decision for our business. So in the science to verify or disapprove existing model or theories, that's called business intelligence. So there are lots of tools and lots of companies and jobs are available in the market which are working in business intelligence. That is called data analytics. Let's come to the next slide. So what are the job market of Hadoop? As mentioned in the graph, the job market, you also can check it on indeed.com. Job market is continuously growing again and again. You can see here in July 2011 it was 250, then 500, then 750. It is continuously growing. Hadoop administrator, and as I mentioned in 2015 there was 1500 plus jobs on Indeed. Only Indeed, I am talking about only Indeed. There are lots of jobs on other portals also. You can check it on Google. Let's come to the next slide. What companies are using Hadoop? So I mentioned Google, Facebook, Twitter, Yahoo, LinkedIn, IBM, Amazon, Hortonworks, Cloudera. So in the beginning, Google, Facebook, Twitter, these all are the, as you all know, they are the joint corporate leader of the IT companies in the market everywhere. Everybody knows Google, Facebook. Everybody use Google, Facebook, Twitter, but they all are using Hadoop because they have big data, large data, and they also want to process that data. They also want to do business with that data. All things are fulfilled by the Hadoop. That's why they are using Hadoop. Let's come to some real-time example of Hadoop. The New York Times archives. You can Google it with just this name, the New York Times archives. You can get complete detail. I will explain in short what was the thing happened, what they use with Hadoop. So non-real-time large dataset computing is called that thing. New York Times was dynamically generated PDFs of article from 1851 to 1922. They wanted to pre-generate and statistically serve articles to improve performance. Improve performance, it means they have the data from 1851 to 1922 in TIFF image. And you know, if you have some data in image, you can't search something under particular image. If you have news, if we scan some newspaper, we can't search article under that image file. But Hadoop, the New York Times processed their all images from 1851 to 1922, and they converted that image into PDF format. Now the complete data from 1851 to 1922 is searchable. You can search any article from 1851 to 1922. That's a big deal. And using Hadoop plus MapReduce is a framework of Hadoop. Running on EC2 S3. EC2 is the AWS instance. We can say we can buy a node, purchase a node or machine from AWS, which is EC2. S3 is object storage where they store their data, and they converted 4 terabytes of TIFF images into 11 million PDF article in 24 hours with the help of Hadoop. This is the best example in the market. You also can Google, you can learn, and you can read it in detail what they did, how they did. Let's come to the next slide. How Hadoop admins required in multiple domains. Suppose some company have development, they are doing some development with Hadoop, and some company have big data analytics, business intelligence, database management, data visualization. All companies have required a Hadoop admin guy. Why required? Let's see the responsibilities of Hadoop admin. So Hadoop admin is a guy who is responsible for implementation and administration of Hadoop infrastructure. All 4 to 5 domains as I mentioned in above, development, analytics, intelligence, those all required infrastructure, right? But to deploy or to implement that infrastructure, who is responsible for that? So Hadoop admin will be required. The cluster, then once they deployed a cluster, the second thing will be maintenance, like backup, recovery, upgrade, patching. So Hadoop admin's responsibilities are backup, recovery, upgrade, and patching. Also, Hadoop admins monitors Hadoop cluster and deploys security. The last point is performance tuning and capacity planning for cluster. If they are running some job and the job is taking too much time, so they want to perform, but they want to tune a performance of particular job. So that's a Hadoop admin responsibility. Capacity planning is something about if the projects come into your organization, you will be the guy who is giving the capacity planning to customer. Like according to, on the basis of your data set, what will be the data growing every day on your cluster. These are the capacity planning, and how much, what will be the size of our Hadoop cluster, that will be decided by Hadoop administrator. That's called capacity planning for cluster. Let's come to the next slide. What are the prerequisites for Hadoop administration course? So basics of memory, CPU, OS, storage, and network. As we know in the operating system on mobile phones, in computer, what are the memory? We always used to say like we have 2 GB RAM of smartphone, 8 GB RAM of computer system. That's the same thing. CPU, what are the core, octa-core, dual core, and OS, Windows, XP, Linux, CentOS, Ubuntu, storage in gigabyte, terabyte, 2 terabyte, 4 terabyte, and networks concepts, basic network concept, what are the layers and what are the networks, how the data is transferring on networks, how we used to transfer some data on network. Basic concept of these terminologies like memory, CPU is will be required for Hadoop administration. And basic knowledge of Linux, as Hadoop runs on Linux. Basic knowledge means just you need to know like what are the Linux command, what are the basic command, how to create folder, how to check memory, how to check RAM, how to check storage, how to create data, how to create soft link, basic things. And if you know, that is good. If you don't know, we can cover those things also. And good troubleshooting skills. If you are using Windows, if you are using in Linux, you may get a chance to troubleshoot something with application, with antivirus, with anything. So that's a skill of troubleshooting which will be required for Hadoop admin. Understanding of systems capacity and bottleneck. As I mentioned in the storage capacity, systems capacity, what is the system capacity, what are the RAM, what are the processor, according to that how big application you can run on the system, the basic things. And there is nothing like prior knowledge of Hadoop is not necessary for this Hadoop administration course. Let's come to next slide. So our last slide is real-time case studies which will be covered under this course, Hadoop administration. So first will be server log analysis. Server log analysis is that when we get a log from server, under that some data is coming from server. Server is generating continuously some data. Some web request is coming to server. A server is keeping those information in their log, like who requests, what was the ID, IP address of the request, what was the location of that IP comes from the server, and what was the status, is he able to get his request, or it's get failed, what are everything is stored in server log. So we'll use a server log data and we'll process that server log with the help of Hadoop. And the second one is Twitter data. You know that Twitter tweet counts, followers, and Twitter ID, the user ID, user location, all things will be under that Twitter data set. We'll take that data set and also will process that data set with Hadoop. We'll store into HDFS and process that data with the help of our Hadoop, and we'll load that data into Hive. That will discuss at the time when first you need to learn, when you get clear about Hadoop and administration and components of Hadoop, daemons of Hadoop. Then it will be the last point of the Hadoop administration course, because you have to know some practical and real-time case studies before preparing any interviews or going for interviews. So that's it. And also the interview tips and tricks will be provided at the time of case study session, how we need to handle the how we need to manage, how we need to answer to the interviewer if he asks about practical things, what are the cluster, how you are using Hadoop in your organization. These all things will be covered at the time of case studies, because case studies will be completely depend on the production environment. It will not like you can do Google and you can start it. We'll cover it like what are they doing in production, what's going on in companies, how companies are processing data, how companies are using Hadoop. Those all things will be covered in the real-time case studies. So thank you guys.